Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the eSports Report. Jack, joined by Max here in the studio on this lovely Tuesday afternoon. Max, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good, Jack. How are you doing?
I'm doing great because we get to talk about Call of Duty, my favorite thing in the world. Obviously, covering all the Season 3 Pro League action. Last night, we saw some major matches, some subs filling in. Not too many crazy things going down. Max, break it down. What were the three big storylines from last night?
I mean, last night, no mercy for Epsilon. The Red Militia rolled through, absolutely destroyed them. We'll get into that match just in a minute. TK, they go to distance against Envy. Really exciting game 5. And then Lacefield, new sub for ISO. He really shined in their series versus Optic Nation, Jack.
Yeah, we're also going to take a look at tonight's matches, the caster predictions, as well as, well, the Vulcan picks. We got to let you know who you're going to be picking in your fantasy lineups. But first, let's cover last night's action, all starting off with the first match of the night. FaZe, arguably the hottest team in all of Call of Duty, going up against Epsilon. Well, the 0-6 team at that time, Max, how did it break down?
So, like you said, Jack, going in 0-6, a lot of worries about Epsilon doing that James Bond, starting 0-7.
Yeah.
Game 1, retreat hardpoint. You know, take a look at the yellow hill, the second hotel hill, towards the end of the game. And Jack, I mean, really, this hill put Epsilon right in the coffin.
Yeah, Epsilon doing a great job of keeping it close, as we see time and time again on this map. If you can just contest this yellow hill, get the early rotation to school, your team might have a chance at winning it, but you can't go down by too much. FaZe doing a great job of getting the entry kills here, held it down for almost its entirety. They actually outscored Epsilon on this hill 39-9. That really put it out of reach for them. Attach in this game, 39 kills, a 1.39 KD ratio, 11 captures, 7 defends, all with that submachine gun. On the other side of things, Clayster, 39 kills as well, the 1.22 KD, 4 caps, and 2 defense. Some major numbers from the two Call of Duty champions. There you can see dominant performance, now up by about 40 seconds. That was it. They wound up running away with that game. But Max, let's bring it back to us and talk about what happened in games 2 and 3.
I mean, looking at Epsilon, their strong suit has kind of been hardpoint, you know, Season 3 relegation. It's, I mean, going up against the Red Militia, one of the hardest tasks in all of Call of Duty. You know, Denial, OG, all those teams really hard to compete with in hardpoint. And honestly, Epsilon just got ran over there.
Oh, absolutely. That was game number 1. We hopped into game number 2 next, which was a Riot Search and Destroy. FaZe took that one with ease, taking that 6-3. And then we moved into Biolab Uplink, FaZe going for the quick 3-0 sweep. They were able to make it happen, 14-3, making Epsilon 0-7 to start things off. Max, what was really the play style for FaZe in game number 3? What was so successful for them?
I mean, we'll take a look at their stats from that game 3 uplink against Epsilon. Zuma and Clayster, you're slaying-minded players here with a 1.19 uplink KD and a 1.07. And then you see the uplink Slayer rating, 27, almost 28 kills per game for Zuma, and almost 25 kills per game for Clayster. And then the other end, your objective-minded players. You have Attach, who's really, you know, more objective-minded than Enable. Enable's kind of more that flex player, filling in the holes where you need them. But like you see, both the same uplink KD, 1.01, and both really averaging 23 kills per game, Jack.
Really, when you have Zuma and Clayster slaying everything out for your team, you can see right there, Zuma, the 1.19 uplink KD so far in Season 3 last night, 34-19 performance. Clayster was right there with him as well, finishing 28-21, but it was really Attach and Enable getting the objective done.
Yeah, Attach had 7 uplinks last night against Epsilon. Huge number out of him. He's averaging 4.14 uplinks per game. That's 3rd best in the league. And then Enable, like I said, objective-minded last night, had 6 uplinks himself.
Well, Epsilon now 1-6 in uplink so far in Season 3, struggling to say the least. It's their worst game mode. Now, Max, obviously the question that's on everyone's mind with Epsilon, do they stand a chance in making the top 8 now in Season 3? This horrible start, to say the least. We're going to take a look at their next 15 games, because we kind of did the math, looking at Season 1 and Season 2. Rise Nation in Season 1 finished 20-24. They were in the 8th place. Season 2, TK, 21-23. Right now, Max, with Epsilon at 0-7, what do they have to do to really try to get in the playoffs?
I mean, equate this to an 0-14 start in Season 1 and Season 2.
Yeah.
Like you said, teams really averaging 20 to 21 games, in Season 1 and 2 to qualify for playoffs, X Games, and Season 1 championships, respectively. But honestly, like, they'll have to pretty much win out. Essentially, like, they'll have to get at least 10 wins.
Obviously, winning out is the best scenario no matter what team you're talking about.
And a lot of help. They'll get a lot of help, too.
Yeah, if Epsilon could finish 10-5, and then get help from other teams, they could have a chance at making the top 8. Here's their schedule. Now, we mentioned 5 losses is really all that they can wind up affording while still getting help from the opposing teams to reach that top 8. Taking a look at the schedule, Optic Gaming, they face them not once but twice, I believe. Then they also have to go up against FaZe, Denial, tough spot to be in. That's 3-4 losses right there. And then if you get a couple of good wins out of maybe TCM, TK's been starting to heat up. There's Epsilon's losses right there, and they're basically already out just in week 3.
Oh, yeah, and even week 6, Elevate, also a very strong squad so far in Season 3. And then Envious, also not a pushover squad. So, I mean, these next 2 weeks coming up, week 5 and 6, really going to be make or break for Epsilon if they qualify for Season 3 championships. But honestly, it's looking really grim for them, Jack.
You see Epsilon making a change, if possible?
I mean, if it's mathematically impossible, I don't see why you would end up making a change.
Yeah. It's more or less try to figure
it's not mathematically impossible just yet, but I mean, a couple more losses, and you're looking at worlds ahead. Do you really want to make a roster change for that?
Yeah.
They're not attending Gfinity. They were not one of the teams that were announced. TCM, or the other EU squad, EU NA squad that was announced for Gfinity.
Yep.
So I don't know. I don't think so. I think they kind of just stick together, figure some things out. If one player leaves, it's going to be Swanee. He'll go to a top 8 team.
Yeah. Really struggling to say the least right now for Epsilon. Now 0-7 in the league. They had to go up against FaZe, which is just the worst thing they could have ever asked for. FaZe stopping them 3-0. That was our first matchup of the night. Later in the night, we saw Elevate go up against Orbit. Now, Max, people might have missed the news. What really happened? The team change with Orbit. Who's gone? Who's now on that squad?
Right. So Rise announced yesterday they'll actually be attending Gfinity.
Yep.
But one of their players, TCM, too young to attend, so they ended up trading him to Orbit for Burns. So
the captain?
Yeah, the captain. Last minute swap right before we were doing the Pro League show yesterday.
Yeah. Really
shocking. I mean, in terms of Gfinity, it makes sense, but is it a permanent move? To make the permanent move in Season 3 was really shocking.
Yeah.
So TCM debuted for Orbit last night against Elevate. Compound Hardpoint, they didn't really stand a chance. Elevate too strong in the slaying department.
And Elevate is looking extremely strong on that map so far from what I've seen from them. Slacked, always stepping up for his team. Classic knows how to play that 4th hill so well, bopping around those trailers, playing his cover extremely well. Elevate continuing to impress. Then they moved into Detroit Search and Destroy, and Max, this one went all the way to round 11. Elevate was able to sneak out the win on Detroit Search and Destroy. Saints 12-9 with 4 first bloods. Saints has been doing everything for his team so far this season. Max, who else has impressed you on Elevate?
Classic. He went off, dropped big numbers on that hard point. Yep. Kind of struggled a little bit in that S&D. We'll take a look at that round 11 from Detroit S&D last night between Elevate and Orbit. I mean, like I said, Jack, Saints 12-9, 2 plans, 4 first bloods. Elevate got 4 of the last 5 first bloods as well. So, I mean, he got all their first bloods. It was huge for Saints.
Yeah, getting a little eager there, showing you the TK versus MV series. Yeah. Don't worry, that'll come up in just a little bit. The final 4 first bloods, or 4 of the final 5 first bloods in that game came from Elevate. Crazy stuff from them, really clutching up. But we do have some stats here from game number 3, and then as well, the first blood percentage right now. Game 3 went to Elevate 9-3. In the final 2 minutes, they scored 4 unanswered points, making it look easy. But Max, the first blood leaderboard, the thing we really want to break down with this Elevate squad, break it down for me. Who's been surprising so far in Season 3?
So, I mean, you're going to see Saints from Elevate there at that 4th spot, tied with Crim. But when you look at the top 3, you have Zuma, top 5 player right now in Season 3, no doubt. Theory from TK, very strong S&D player on a very strong S&D team. Looney from Envy right behind them with only 1% less. And then, like I said, Saints and Crim tied with 17. And then Havoc from ISO in your bottom 4, rounding out the top 5 with 16%.
Yeah, Saints doing some big things for his squad that game. As I said, 12-9, 2 plants, and 4 first bloods. That's a difference between a player just going 12-9 with some major crucial kills and plays like Saints did versus a 12-9 performance with none of those stats. 2 major difference makers, a big reason why Elevate was able to win that game 2 and then close it out the 3-0. Max, on that screen, who do you think is your strongest S&D player so far in Season 3? When I'm looking at it, I'm stuck between Zuma and Havoc.
I mean, all those players on that list are so talented in Search and Destroy. We've seen Havoc clutch that amazing 1v4. You were there. You called it yourself against OG at UMG Dallas. Crim6, 17%. Last night, we looked at his S&D KD, averaging over 1.4, and he's averaging a plant per game as well. So Crim, absolute beast in Search and Destroy. I mean, for me, I think I'm going to go with Crim, just because, He's the Crimbot. He's
Always
so methodical in Search and Destroy. His numbers look so good so far. Making a case for S&D player this season early.
That was a look at your Elevate versus Orbit series. Elevate able to take that one 3-0. But the good matches from last night didn't wind up ending. We then hopped into the boys in blue up against TK. Now, Max, the series started off really favoring either squad. You never really knew who was going to take that one. Envy looking very strong. TK now beginning to heat up. Some internet issues mid-series, but we do want to break down game number 1. Was so close all the way into the final hill. We have some footage of it. Then TK was really able to edge them out 25-6 in the final hill, Max. Theory 37-38 with 10 captures and 1 defend.
Great numbers from Theory there. In Hardpoint, we just took a look at his first blood percentage in S&D.
Yeah.
But I mean, really, story for TK. We talked about it last night, me and Ben. Just try to steal a respawn. If you can steal a respawn, you have that option to get to that second S&D, which is really TK's strong suit. Like I see here, they're going to come back and make an amazing comeback to win by 9 points against Team Envious Jack. Important win, but like I said, we'll go into game 2 soon. Skyrise S&D, they really need to take that S&D as well to just get a dominant factor in the series, but they weren't quite able to do it.
Yeah, there you could look at that final hill. TK just narrowly taking down Envy. They moved into Skyrise Search and Destroy. I feel like I've seen TK play this map 12 times so far in Season 3. They've obviously had some experience with it. While it didn't help them in game number 2, Envy was able to take it 6-4. Aqua, Octane, and Looney combined for 29 and 16. A dominant performance from those 3 players.
That's insane numbers coming out of those 3 players. JCap, not quite on that list, but doing his part as well.
Of course.
In that objective role. But going to game 3, Detroit Uplink, also the Envy show, winning 13-4. Octane and Looney.
They're still undefeated in Uplink so far in Season 3.
Best only team in Season 3 to be undefeated in a single game mode at all.
Yep.
So Octane and Looney combined for all your 13 points there. Going into game 4 though, Hardpoint, tough. Envy's up, they have him TK up against the ropes. TK stole that first Hardpoint, Jack, but could they do it again? Yeah,
really, if Envy just won that first or final Hardpoint in game number 1, you would have seen them 3-0 sweep the series, but then they had some internet issues. We went into game number 4, Merc and Diabolic now playing. Got into that final hill on Biolab. Here's how it broke down. You can see the score right now, 210-205. They went into this hill basically all knotted up. Nameless ends the game 38-26 with 5 captures. Also, the fill-ins for Envy, Merc struggling at 20-36, and Diabolic 27-35 with only 1 cap. Max, the big note from this though, TK outscored Envy 34-0 on this final Biolab hill, a combined 59-6 in the entire series between games 1 and game 4. Pretty crazy numbers from Team Caliber.
Yeah, and that final Biolab Hardpoint is always, a contest hill. Always seen some amazing comebacks on that hill, but to show TK just so dominant in that one hill, overall in the entire series, like I said, 59-6 over the 2 hills, that's absolutely ridiculous. That's outscoring them by 53 in that single hardpoint, really swinging the entire game for them, taking that 238-205, forcing a game 5. Who doesn't love game 5, Jack?
Oh, TK already with 3 game 5 wins in the season. All 3 of those wins are their 3 wins in the league. So they were 3-4 heading into this match. Then they were able to nudge out Envy yet again. They're now a perfect 4-4 in Game 5 situations. If I'm a fan of Team Caliber, that is a great sign. If they could start winning some of those hard points, which they were struggling with so far in Season 3, now they're beginning to pull things a little bit more in their favor. If they can begin winning some of those hard points, winning that Game 2 S&D, they're setting themselves up for a great series and overall final map record in Season 3.
Yeah, I mean, we'll take a look at their overall record, who they've beaten, who they've lost to. I mean, they've got wins against Envy last night, obviously Rise, TCM, and ISO. Teams kind of in that bottom 6 of the leaderboard so far. But you take a look at their losses. ON, top 4 team. Optic Gaming, first place team. Denial and FaZe fighting for second place in the league so far. So you've lost to the top 4 teams. You can't really be too discouraged if you're a TK fan. But I still want to see them play against the top 4 again to gauge how well they're doing. Beating Envy, though, is a really good sign for this team.
Oh, absolutely. Taking down the boys in blue. TK doing a great job. Really, Theory stepping up for me in that series. That first hard point, he basically single-handedly won it for his squad with those 10 captures and over 75 engagements. Don't go anywhere, though. When we come back, the Isolation versus Optic Nation series will be broken down, and then some other major news from Season 3. Stay tuned.